Hi, I'm Bob Watson.
I'm Stacey Harmon.
I'm Scott Schang.
And welcome to the recap for Social Media Mastermind Orange County on this gray day here in Southern California, June 11. So what's up? What happened today?
We had a lively discussion, lots of people here, and lots of great, diverse topics. So.
I thought it was kind of cool that Katie Lance up from the Bay Area.
Hi, Katie.
She sent out a tweet saying that she was listening in on the discussion today. So that was kind of cool.
We love that.
Very good. And Hilda Ramirez, she's always up there tweeting, always participating from up north.
Amazing.
Every single week. Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you for your support.
Well, let's look at the board here. What came up that really grabbed you today, Stacey?
Let's see. I think we had a really great discussion about what the term curation means, and I actually kind of think that it's a kind of a social media slang term almost, or it's almost something that has taken on a new meaning in social media and has some very strong importance for your content strategy, which is a really underlying theme that's important in social media. So we had a lot of discussion about exactly what it means, and the definition that I proposed was that content curation is about taking the cream of the crop of content from the web that you find and repurposing it or filtering it and sharing it with your audience. And I think there was that was an accepted definition, but it prompted another discussion about what's the appropriate way to share content on the web, and brought up some very good points about if you're actually giving attribution to the originating source and how important that is, and you want to make sure that you're not stealing content, but indeed sharing this content that you curate or scour the web for that's relevant to your audience.
That also, it went a little bit into being an influencer and the role of an influencer, because that's a big role in a lot of social media things. Is as an influencer, people are paying attention to you to see what you find interesting. So curation in that sense was, these are the things that I think that are interesting, and we kind of went into, we started talking about a couple other influence factoring kind of things like clout, and Hilda introduced a couple of new ones that was kind of interesting.
Peer index. And
yeah, there was peer index and
Twittleizer.
Twittleizer, right. So those were kind of interesting, and so yeah, the curation part I think is a really valuable, because not everybody's coming up with stuff all the time, but it seems like the biggest influencers are the ones that read a lot and just kind of translate for a lot of other people.
Well, and I like the idea of content curation as well, because it takes a little bit of the burden of having to create content, which is really can be challenging.
Right.
Certainly good social media content strategies can include or might include content creation, generating unique content, but that can be very time intensive, and curating other content might be a different kind of strategy that can really work when appropriately done.
Well, it worked for me in the sales management, because every sales meeting I needed some fresh topics, and I was able to pull from my Twitter feed all week and then throw out a couple of relevant topics.
Yeah, so I think the lesson we got from today's discussion was include content curation as part of your strategy. It certainly can be effective.
Yeah, and realize that what you curate it reflects on you.
Yeah. Okay, good. What else did we have today?
Well, Bob, I think we launched with the Twitter followers, and
Right.
why you would need 50,000 Twitter followers.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have 50,000 Twitter followers. I've been on
Why?
Twitter 4 years. Well, because I want to broadcast out to 50,000 people and be famous.
Okay, well, do you think, can you get 50,000 followers if you're not already famous?
Ah.
Well, and the question was, how do you get 50,000 followers? What are the best practices to get 50,000 followers? Can you do that through organic vehicles if you're not Ashton Kutcher?
What do you mean by organic?
If you through just best practices, through conversing with people, through organically building relationships, or
Which
does it
means doing
require
it yourself as opposed to automating it?
doing it yourself versus automating?
I've been on Twitter for 4 years. You've been on Twitter 4 years. We have about 5,000 followers each. We're having conversations. It isn't working.
It's not bringing 50,000 followers. So that was actually one of the questions, is it even possible? What are we doing wrong that's not bringing 50,000 followers? And what I think came out of what I heard out of the discussion is it really isn't possible. You need to have a third-party service that's auto-following and responding in order to achieve that. And then we had some discussion about if there's value in that.
Yeah, there are absolutely isolated cases where I think people that have a lot of followers, like Mari Smith is one great example. She has like 100,000, but she manages that account, and
Well, she
there are
built
a
that
few,
through content and conversation.
right, content and conversation.
All
So
organically?
It appears
most
so.
most of it is, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I've been following her for a couple of years, and she's putting a lot of content out there, and she responds. When you tweet, she's there. So that's interesting, and the conversation also veered towards. Well, it was funny because then it turned into a numbers game, right? That people were saying, well, if you have 50,000 and only 1% of them respond or retweet, and then
Yeah.
Lauren mentioned, well, now you're just talking about spam numbers. You're talking about odds. You're talking about conversion. Is if you throw a bunch of stuff out there, something's going to stick. Yeah, I don't know. Those are different strategies for Twitter. So I think it's important that you understand why you want to use Twitter, and if you need 50,000, because out of those 50,000, this is a great segue into the Dunbar number.
Right. The
Yeah.
Dunbar number is something that Mel Claro brought up, and that was that we really can't have interactions, meaningful interactions, with more than 150 people.
Yeah, Dunbar was a what is he?
Not going to go there. I don't remember.
Social anthropologist kind of guy, study of human behavior, and he came up with this number and said you can only have deep, meaningful relationships with X number of people, and it came in right around 150 or so.
Well,
But
it's obvious that most of the people on Twitter don't think that meaningful relationship comes from 150 if they're striving to get 5,000 and 10,000 and 30,000 followers.
Well, I think that there was no resolution to all of this, because even there's a hybrid of solutions that can be possible. Just because you use a service to auto follow and build up your following doesn't mean that you can't be effectively having conversations at the same time. So again, it's back to what you're trying to accomplish, where the value is. I mean, maybe your audience thinks that having 50,000 followers, that brings you some business. I mean, that may be possible. I thought it was an interesting discussion about, do you lose credibility though with other Twitter followers if you are discovered to have used these types of services? And does that matter? I mean, these are all questions that we
Right.
didn't have the answers to, but we were discussing and we're interested in
and
today.
I don't think there is an answer, because again, it just goes to how you're using that particular tool, what your strategy is going into it. I think having it for the sake of being able to brag about it, there's no value. But in some cases, for some brands, maybe that's how their consumer, maybe that's how their followers or their the people they influence, maybe that's how they want to receive information. So again, it always comes down to strategy.
Yeah.
All these tools, they're tools. It's how you use it.
And we had a redux of the conversation regarding copyright infringement. One of our members today brought in a letter from Getty Images, and she's being charged $780 for using a licensed image that Getty Image sells.
And this is an important part of this, is she was experimenting with a header. So that site that she did it with doesn't even exist. It never went live, or well, it was a live site, but she was experimenting, so she was just pulling pictures just to test it and just see. But there was tracking code or something on there. That picture is not on the internet, and it wasn't. It was on there temporarily while she was experimenting with stuff, and they have a screenshot of it on her site, temporary site. That's
What's a tracking code?
I don't know how they tracked it, but there has to
Wow.
be some sort of there's obviously something on the picture, because the picture is a
Wow, didn't
digital
know
image,
that.
so it's got to have some sort of embedded tracking code, because they said image stock number this was used here. Here's the screenshots.
That's crazy.
Big Brother is out there.
Well, there's certainly issues with making sure that the images and the art and the content that you're using, you have the rights to use. So it's not a free-for-all.
Right.
It's not
It
a
is
free-for-all.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot. Just if you're serious about being online, just pay for stuff. I mean, the images are not expensive. There's a lot of places out there you can get them really cheap. Just pay for stuff. I mean,
Can you give me a couple of sources for images?
123RF
I like
is my
iStock
favorite.
Photo.
iStock Photo. There's also I can't remember. Ted Mackley uses when it's Pond 5 Live or something like that.
And there's certain,
There's a bunch of
there's
them.
certain images on Flickr and places like that that have the right copyrights
Yeah.
in place to allow you to share with attribution
Yeah.
those photos. So be sure to
Yeah.
look into that when you're using images in particular in your postings, on either in your art, in your postings, on Facebook, in your blog, all different kinds of places.
That's
So,
important.
Great.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that was a quick summary, or maybe not
And-
so quick.
It was and I just wanted to do a shout out to Kevin Sablon from the Orange County Register. We had a discussion last week about the social media day, which is being held by Mashable all over the world, and that he's invited Social Media Mastermind to hold a special session on the 30th. I'm not sure of the hour. I think the hours are from 1 o'clock until 5 o'clock, and there will be food trucks there. But Orange County Register is going to be creating some cool SMMOC shirts for us for that day, and they're going to be great swag. So thanks, Kevin. And just reminder, everybody who comes to SMMOC on Social Media Day at the Orange County Register will receive a Social Media Mastermind shirt.
And I get to join in on the conversation about what's going on during the day. So it's going to be great. It's not going to be just listening.
No,
We're
we're
going to
going
have discussion.
to have actually op-ed. Yep.
Yep.
And-
Very cool.
As always, if you find yourself in the Orange County area on a Saturday morning, please join us live from 9 to 11 in Costa Mesa.
What
Or
about Monday?
Follow the hashtag SMMOC on Twitter.
And if you're
Yep.
in real estate, you can join us for a SMMOC RE, focused real estate discussion, very similar in format, on Mondays from 9 to 11 in the same spot. And if you can't make that, we'll give you a video recap of that as well. So thanks for
Very cool.
watching, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.